We've got the mid-year budget update coming in a couple of days, set to confirm some of the growth forecasts for next year. Very strong growth expected, less debt and deficit expected. It's quite a strong launchpad, isn't it, into an election year as we look set to rebound into another strong recovery?
Well, what economic recovery looks like is going to be really important for the nation, and what lessons we learn from the pandemic and how we deal with them, and in this moment really of an unprecedented opportunity to reimagine the country is going to be critically important. I'd make a couple of observations. We have seen this government preside over record low wage growth, and indeed they've baked in real wage decline over the next 4 years. That's happened in a context where we've seen petrol prices go up really significantly. We've seen rental prices go up really significantly. We're really seeing Middle Australia being squeezed. So that's how people's lived experience of the economy is. And we don't see a government which particularly has answers in respect of any of those challenges. And I think more beyond that, I don't hear the government talking about the need for the country to climb the technological ladder, to build a real sovereign capability in this country, to see that we get back into high-tech manufacturing in a significant way, so that we can make sure that we are building an economy which is generating the kind of secure, well-paid jobs that have been missing up until now. And that's what we actually need to hear from the government. I mean, today's announcement in relation to mRNA vaccine manufacture, that's good. It's still a few years down the track. It's kind of emblematic of the fact that they missed this play a year ago, and it's taken a long time for them to get to this point. But it's actually doing high-tech manufacturing, getting involved in much more sophisticated service delivery, which has to be the key to having an economy which generates the kind of well-paid, secure jobs that we need, and which deals with the issue of meeting the crunch that Middle Australia is facing.
Well, the government wants this to be an election on the economy. Labor clearly wants to make it a referendum on Scott Morrison. Do you feel more confident as we head into this election season than you did last time?
Look, I mean, I think it's right to be holding the Prime Minister to account. This is a Prime Minister who has consistently missed the play. As I say, he has been reacting to events rather than leading them. He's really not understood the challenge that COVID-19 has represented for this country, actually from day one. I mean, right back at the beginning of the pandemic, when we needed to come to terms with the idea of social distancing, he was the one letting the whole country know he was going off to the footy. And at the beginning of this year, when we watched every other country around the world understanding that the pathway out was to get vaccinated, he was telling us all that it wasn't a race, and as a result, millions of Australians spent months in lockdown, which they didn't need to do because of this government's failure in terms of rolling out the vaccine. And now, as we talk about economic recovery, I mean, there's also a skills crisis, which the country is absolutely facing. We're not training people in the way that we need to. That's because this government's cut billions of dollars out of TAFE over the last 8 years. We have something like 85,000 less apprentices and trainees today than we did back in 2013.
So that's all a critique
of a growing
of
economy, growing labour market, and they have not.
It's fair.
We've seen that go backwards. None of this equals economic.
That's all a critique, but so that basically proves my point, though, doesn't it? That you're not making a pitch for a great, story of hope from Labor. You're not pitching it on necessarily your ideas. It's more to criticise Scott Morrison and his performance.
Well, we're certainly criticising Scott Morrison and his performance, but we're absolutely putting forward our ideas, and we have within the last week. I mean, if you look at the skills crisis as an example of the sort of problem that's facing the country, we've come up with a solution, and that's the provision of free TAFE. We are looking at making sure that, working with the states, every person who studies at TAFE in an area of skills shortage will be able to do that for free. Now, we've articulated a very detailed policy in relation to that. That's going to be front and centre in terms of what we take to the next election. And you can look at what we've said in relation to childcare. You can look at the announcement that we made in respect of emissions reductions. We actually have put in place a whole lot of detailed policy in terms of climbing the technological ladder and making sure that we have an economy which is generating the kind of well-paid, secure jobs that we need. We've put forward the National Reconstruction Fund so that it actually stimulates the economy in areas where Australia can reasonably expect to lead the world in science and tech if we do it right. So we're actually looking at all the issues that are facing Australia right now. We're trying to use this moment to reimagine the country, to see that we, in coming out of the pandemic, engage in a reconstruction which puts this country on a path to prosperity in the middle of this century. We're thinking about those challenges. We have a plan. Scott Morrison has none of that. I mean, Scott Morrison has been reacting to events from day one. And the final point with Scott Morrison is he declares wars on the premiers. There's no one who he won't have a political fight with, but when he gets into a corner, he always tries to lie his way out of it. And in Anthony Albanese, what we will have is a Prime Minister who acts with integrity and who tells the truth.